was spent travelling in the TARDIS with Patrick Troughton. Lovely, lovely man.
Yes. And, I mean, did you get on with Patrick, and I think it was initially Michael Craze and Annika Wills? I mean, did you guys kind of just gel automatically?
No, well, and to be perfectly honest, Annika and I, we always laugh about this. Rehearsals, I used to get to rehearsals and she'd say, hello Patrick, darling, hug Patrick. Hug Michael and go, morning Frazer, and that was it. I never got a hug. Never. She's given me lots of hugs since, but I can understand because after a year of TARDIS, if suddenly, with Debbie wattling me and Patrick, if they'd suddenly brought another young male companion, I would have thought, why? We don't need another male companion. We're quite happy, you know. So I think Michael wasn't too happy having another male companion. I took a lot of his lines.
I was going to say, in Underwater Menace and Moonbase, you basically took half his dialogue.
I took half of it, yeah. It had to because the scripts are written, you know, 6 months ahead, so they hadn't written me in. So I took a lot of his lines, made him to Scottish. And in the Moonbase, it was great because I was paid a fortune to go, it's a Phantom Piper! The Phantom Piper! Oh, no, don't take me! And then, that's it. That's all I had to do. It's fantastic, yeah.
But sort of once it was you and Patrick, I mean, you two gelled, and there's a lot of chemistry between you two. I think of things like in Tomb of the Cybermen, when you're going into the tombs and you're trying to walk in with Victoria, and instead you hold each other's hands.
Yeah, now that was a little gag that we put in. Maurice Barry, the director, was not known for his sense of humour. And we knew if we actually said, we've got a good idea, Maurice, if you do this, we knew that wouldn't be good. So we did it on the take, knowing that they didn't like doing retakes unless a camera or a microphone came in. So that's why we hold, you know, come on, yes, come on, and we take each other's hand. No, there we are. The hands are held quite high because we couldn't say to the cameraman how high you know, cutting, because Maurice would say, why are you bothered about how high you know? So that's why we couldn't take each other's hands in case the camera shut back, so we held each other's hand rather high. And Maurice was furious, but it was such a long take afterwards that the producer was sitting in the box and said, no, I like the idea because we've had a lot of tension, people getting electrocuted on that door, dying, Toblerone, we used to call it, opening the door for her. There's a lot of tension, and that just broke the tension, just to, and that's, he loved it, that was it. My first scene with Victoria was, we filmed at Grimsdyke House. It was the eve of the Daleks.
Yes.
And she was in this long corridor at the end of this house, and I had to climb up this rope ladder and rescue her. And my first lines to her, quick, Miss Waterfield, up your passageway! And I couldn't say that.
Is that where because there's the other famous line of yours, which is, look at the size of that thing, Doctor.
That's right. Evil of the Daleks, we saw the Emperor Dalek. Now, I realised why it was called why. It should be in the Empress, because it's got all the black box, it's got a brown one. You look at the Emperor Dalek, 2 goals, and baby Daleks come out, it should be in the Empress. But again, my line in the script was, look at the balls on that thing, Doctor. Yes, Jamie, it is a big one, isn't it? Couldn't say it, so he changed it to look at the size of that thing, Doctor. Fast forward about 16, 18 years, the beginning of the 2 Doctors, I'm supposed to say, look at the size of that space station, Doctor. And on the producer's rehearsal, look at the size of that thing, Doctor. And John Nathan Turner, no. It says, look at the size of the space station. And Patrick tried to say, no, at the beginning of every show, Jamie always says, look at the size of that thing, Doctor. And I go, yes, Jamie, it is a big one, isn't it? And you'll see that actually in The Seeds of Death.
Yes.
When we go into that museum, there's rockets. And we didn't warn Wendy Badbury, but we walk in there, we just say, oh, look at this. I go, hey, look at the size of that. Yes, it is a lot. Big one, isn't it? Yeah. And, we always sort of kept that in. As many times, in our little sort of private joke, you know.
Well, in the middle of your era is a story called The Mind Robber, which is one of the most unique stories in Doctor Who's entire history. It's incredibly surreal. Not the least of which because you get replaced by another actor in the middle of it.
That's right. Wendy Padbury always says it's her favourite story because Frazer was missing for an episode. But no, what happened? I turned up on a Monday morning and I was scratching, you know, and the studio nurse came and said, "You've got chicken pox." I went, "You can't have chicken pox." And it was a baby, you've got chicken pox. And of course, I was taken home. And hey, luckily, it was one of those stories, like a surrealistic story that they could change. I think Terence Dix was the script editor. He got this idea that I charge and my face falls off, and then Patrick puts his and it's Hamish Wilson there.
Yes.
If it'd been an ordinary story, I'd probably been knocked out and left in a dungeon, you know, for an episode. But so that's what actually happened, because I had chicken pox. But when I got better, I came back, we had a scene where we had to meet Emrys James, who was the master, and he sat behind his desk with all these tubes coming out. And Patrick had to come into his office, and the floor manager said, "Yeah, Frazer, could you just get a bit nearer the desk for the shot? Patrick, you stay there by the door. Frazer, a bit nearer, yeah, but yeah, that's it, Pat. You'll find that, you're in shot. Frazer, a bit nearer. Can you get closer to the..." I said, "I can't get any closer because my wedding tackle is now resting on the desk." And Patrick's voice from back there said, "Yes, so's mine." Any kids in the audience?
Cover your children's ears. Well, I guess this is a good...
Many doctors, isn't there? Many doctors. All the doctors.
Well, I guess this is a good time to ask you, because playing a
She's just explaining that joke to her dad there.
Oh, I get it! Well, I guess this is a good time, of course, playing a Highland character in basically every single one of your stories. You wore a kilt.
Yes, yeah. They did actually, after about a year, I think Innes said, "Do you want to get rid of the kilt?" I went, "No, I'm quite happy, you know, because if I get rid of the kilt, I start to wear jeans, and then I'll wear my own jeans, then I'll wear my own cowboy boots, and it's suddenly it's Frazer Hines with a Scottish accent." I wanted to keep the kilt. When we come out of the TARDIS, there's Patrick with a floppy on baggy trousers, me looking ridiculous in a kilt. I wanted to keep that sort of thing going, and I just worried one time that we were doing the invasion.
Yes.
And there was a helicopter scene, and this helicopter had to come in. And the rope ladder comes down, and he said, "Jamie climbs up the rope ladder." Wow. Helicopter down, drop, kill. Like that. Oh. I said, "Wait a minute, he'd let the girl go first." He said, "Oh, that's a good idea, yes." So Sally Faulkner, I think it was, she had a miniskirt on, and the BBC couldn't rehearse. Cue the helicopter, rope ladder. She stood on the rope ladder, her little mini dress, straight up there, and she's climbing up the ladder. Cut, break for lunch, Frazer, you're next after lunch. And I'm going, "Oh, we're all going to find out what Jamie wears under his coat." I read in a woman's magazine that day that the Queen of England has little lead weights sewn into the bottom of her dress, so if it's a windy day, you don't see the royal fire. So my dresser was fishing down by a riverbank. I said, "You've got little lead weights for fishing." He said, "Yeah." So sew them in my kilt. So he sewed all these lead weights, and I had a back to the. Then I said, "Right, next scene, cue the helicopter. Frazer, your turn." So I sort of clanked. The ladder came down, I stood on, and my kilt hung straight down like a safety curtain in the theatre. And the cameraman was looking, and he looked. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He thought his camera was wrong. I'm trying to get the ladder go, "Oh." "Oh, no, you don't."
I mean, that's from the 4th episode of The Invasion,
Yeah.
which we can see an animated version of that, but that's, sadly, with both the case of you and, of course, Patrick Troughton,
Yeah.
so much of that era is missing, including The Highlanders, your very first story.
Yes, The Highlanders is missing. They found The Underwater Menace, which is my second story, which
Right.
is good. So I've still got the old raggedy kilt from the Highlanders. So I'm quite hoping that if they found the second story, they may find the Highlanders. If they found something just before the war came, so well, that's 3 years later. But
Yeah.
there's as Nicholas Corley would say, there's a possibility that we could actually find those stories. So
Yes.
I'm hoping, yeah.
Right. I mean, it just is a shame. I mean, everything exists on audio. We're able to listen to that, but we
Yeah.
lose things like the Dalek Emperor and Emperor of the Daleks.
Yes, that's right, yeah. And Patrick playing trains
Yes.
on these little Daleks. Oh, I've got to tell you a story about that. we had a scene where we were walking along and we find a handkerchief, Victoria Waterfield. And we thought, oh, this is Miss Waterfield. And yes, Jamie, I recognise it too. She must have gone this way. And when I went to the wardrobe department, got this little pair of frilly knickers. And I said, oh, these are Miss Waterfields. I recognise them anyway. Yes. And Debbie Waterfield, they're not mine, they're not mine. And Marius Goring, playing the evil professor, he had a silk handkerchief and he was working, he had to mop his brow, and he put the knickers in his pocket. He said, yes, I'll just get the Dalek, positronic bit. These are Miss Waterfields, I recognise them. They're not mine, no. And lastly, a Dalek from the end of his plunger. These are Miss Waterfield, I recognise them. We had fun in those days.
Yes.
How we ever got a show on the road, I don't know.
Especially because there seems, behind the scenes turmoil, which leads to stuff like The Mind Robber, for example, which has to be extended by an episode. But just so much of it's missing now, which is a crying shame. I mean, so many of your stories are missing. Do you have one in particular where you're like, I'd really like to see that again, I'd really like people to see what I did in that way?
I would like, I think, The Evil of the Daleks. I'd like to see that again. I know there was only one episode, but I think The Evil of the Daleks would be my favourite to see. I think, mind you, all of them, except the Crotons. Oh. And that's completely, all the stories, why does it have to be the Crotons,
Or the Dominators, for that matter.
I like the Dominators. I like that, I like them, Well, there was a good, except that Arthur Cox, the oldest student in history,
Yes.
with that funny little dressing he had on and a bald head, and he was a student, a renegade student. But I like the Dominators. I like them. And those little quarks.
Yes.
We go quack, quack, can't go any quacker. All those guys, and of course the costumes the girls wore, just like a chiffon. You could just barely see through it, and nice job.
I'm not even going to ask you about Wendy Padbury and the cat suits then.
Oh, she was gorgeous. Yeah, she was gorgeous. And that other costume she wore was really the black with the red border, the sort of plastic thing. Now it's always breaking and stretching and stuff, But that was a very risque costume, if anything,
Especially for, I guess, what would be considered a family program in the late 60s.
Yes, we were a children's TV show in the 60s. Yeah, it was children's, when we left. I mean, I didn't want to leave. My agent said, oh, darling, you've done 3 years television, you must leave now. Patrick's wife was saying, oh, you should be doing serious television now. You should be grown-up television. And I always say, if we hadn't had those two women, nag, we'd still be there now. You'd have to shoot us to get us out of time. You've never heard of David Tennant, because we'd still be there. No, we're not leaving the time.
Well, Patrick sadly is no longer with us. He passed away 30 years ago this year. But you're back in the role of Jamie McCrimmon thanks to Big Finish.
Yes.
So what was it like for you? I guess you hadn't played that part since you worked on The Two Doctors in 1985. What's it like coming back to that part 20-odd years later from that?
I did. My first was 2007, which was the Helicon Prime. And I read the first 3 pages as the Doctor was just like a grown-up man. And Jamie, with a Jamie voice, it came back to... It's funny, when I go in the recording booth, suddenly my voice goes up a bit like that. And it's all, Doctor, look out, there's a big monster. But it raises, and I become Jamie again. So I did it, the first 3 pages. And then Nigel Frazer, who was an actor, he's directing. He said, I just want to hear these 3 pages. And I'm looking at it. Yes, right, yeah. He said, oh, Frazer, you sound like Patrick Troughton. I said, yes, well, I do Patrick's, at conventions when I'm talking about it. Look at the size of that. He said, no, just do the first 3 pages as Patrick. So I did the first 3, and keep it like that. So it was his idea, because I was just going to play Patrick, the Doctor as a grown-up man. So it was his idea, and I always say, to David Richardson, the producer of Big Finish, I said, if Patrick was alive today, he said, no, Fraser, I'm not getting you double wages, no. So I always say I get paid to do Jamie, but I do Patrick's voice for the love of the man, and to keep his spirit alive for all the fans who buy the CDs. And I just keep him going.
And I'm one of them.
And it's funny that they write it. One writer tried to write it with a cough here and a cough. And it's strange, I thought, no, just write it as the Doctor, and I'll add them.
Right, because as I understand it, you and Patrick did this kind of semi-improvisational thing. You'd sort of learned the script to some extent, but you were willing to go in and sort of improvise things like the hand-holding and the look at the sides of that thing, Doctor, while doing it.
Yes, we were allowed to do it, and also, people say, oh, Patrick never knew his lines. He always knew his lines, but you had to be a listening actor. If he said, no, Jamie, we get to the TARDIS and kill the Daleks. And I'd say, yes, I will kill the Daleks. If he said, I think you ought to kill the Daleks once you get in the TARDIS. It's the same line, but he's paraphrased.
Right.
Some actors will go, no, my cue is Daleks. You said TARDIS. But you have to be and he always said, Frazer, it was great because he's a listening actor. So you just listen. So it doesn't matter. Just listen to which way the lines go. If you said, would you like this? Yes, I would. If he said on the tape, might you like this? Yes, I might. You have to listen and just change your own line, which is great. It's good fun,
Yeah. I do want to move beyond Doctor Who for a couple of questions at least. One thing I do want to ask you about in sort of researching your background, you worked with Charlie Chaplin.
I think I must be probably one of the few actors in captivities that worked with Charlie Chaplin. When you think of them,
right.
They all died. And I was about 10 years old. There's a film called King of New York. It wasn't a silent movie, in case you're thinking that. And he played this king that went to this special school for children. Bye! And I was a little baker boy making cakes, and he said, now, you make these cakes, and you pick your nose and making holes for the cherries, that's it. Can you sing When Stars Were Brightly Shining from Tosca? I went, no. He said, well, you just sing what you think is opera. So I sang it, and I got home, and my mother said, did you, get on Mr. Chaplin? And I told her, and she went to the music store and found, and made me learn, this When Stars Were Brightly Shining. The next day I went to the studio, I said, Mr. Chaplin, and it, la 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 la, and you could see him looking and think, well, this little boy's gone home, hasn't kicked a football or rang on an old lady's doorbell and run out. He's done his homework. So he said, Frazer, I was very happy with what you did in the rushes. So later on in the afternoon, I said, Mr. Chaplin, I've got an idea for comedy. And instead of him clipping me around the ear going, I am Charlie Chaplin, written, produced, starring and directing, and you, a 10-year-old boy, is telling me about comedy? He said, what's your idea of comedy? I said, well, you've got this fur hat. If I put some cream in it and you put it on, wouldn't that be funny? He went, no, I'd see the cream. But if you make it into a cake and I sit on it, then we have the comedy. He listened to a 10-year-old boy, and I always do that now. If I'm doing pantomime, I'll always listen. If a little kid comes, Frazer, latest joke, I'll listen to that kid, because, and a lot of people in our business, they get halfway up the ladder and they know it all, and you can't suggest anything to them. But so if Chaplin listened to a 10-year-old boy, that's what I do as well.
Yeah. Something else I want to ask you about before we hand over to the audience is Outlander.
Yeah.
Which you actually helped inspire, from what I understand.
That's right. Diana Gabaldon was watching, I think it was the War Games, and saw this boy in the kilt and the legs, and she said, I went to church the next day, and all I could think about was this boy's kilt and legs. And years later, I'm sure she wrote this book. She sent me a copy when I was working in Emmerdale, and I took it to our head of drama. I said, we've got to make this. I want to play Jamie. I was still young enough to play Jamie. And I said, no. So years later, the BBC said, you've never met Diana Gabaldon, and this multi-millionaire is now a writer. So she's coming to Edinburgh. So she'd done this panel, and I had my sound recordist, so I was waiting for all these autographs. I got last in line, and I went out to her, I said, put the book, I said, will you put it to the original Jamie? To the original. Oh my God!
And it's for a BBC Radio Scotland thing called Time Traveling Scots, which I think you can still hear, and you can actually hear her reaction, and it's fantastic.
Yes, isn't it lovely? She went, oh yeah, and we had great fun. We met the next day, and we watched that actual episode. And she called the character Jamie. Couldn't call it Jamie McCrimmon, right. Called it Jamie Frazer, and I thought, oh, she'd named Jamie Frazer, but I found out years later that she didn't call it after me because she didn't see the cast list at the end. But spooky, she called it Jamie Frazer. How spooky is that?
And you've recently appeared in the TV series as well.
Yes, I did. I wanted to be in it, obviously, and they said you could play, I think, Jane's grandfather. There's no dialogue, but there's 3 scenes in flashback. And I thought, well, a flashback scene in TV is only, what, 4 seconds long before somebody speaks? It's a long time, 4 seconds on TV. So no, I want a speaking part. Then Sir Fletcher's part came out, and I went to see Suzanne Smith, the casting director, and I did that, and worked with Katrina Balfe. It was just a two-hander. And rumour has it that my episode 15, was the most watched of the first season. And I think it was the million extra Doctor Who fans that watched.
All right, Nicholas, are you ready to hand over to the audience?
Is that a rhetorical question?
Oh. Step away from the speaker, Mr. Johnson.
Are we ready now? Do we have your attention now? Are we ready for questions? Oh, that was pathetic. Let's
Just
do
before
it.
a question, Stephen, what have you got there? This is a pal of mine, Stephen Seagal. He's got a big collection of stuff. Yeah.
What Frazer's holding right there is the world master print of Part 4 of the Moon Base. That is any DVDs you might see, a copy from that film.
Keep him talking, keep him talking. This is the Moon Base. So it's all on, film?
Yeah. Here, hold on, I want to pull some.
Oh. Yeah.
Steve, you can come on stage if you'd like to.
Yeah, come on.
So,
Oh, look.
let's see at the beginning of the Moon Base.
Doctor the Moon. Do I get repeat money for this?
I'm going to run it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
And then if you want to see,
And where did you buy that? Oh, Stephen.
I bought a big collection of these from another collector in England.
You steal it from Nigeria.
No, it's from Nigeria.
Oh,
You can see the beginning of the Doctor Who credits.
Wow. And we were talking about missing episodes earlier. This is the holy grail for those of us who want to see those.
You need to find these for the other ones, right?
Yes.
You got to find it.
I go to know still.
Yeah, you're in front of Morris. Yeah, that is brilliant.
If you want, we can have this at your table if you want to see it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll be signing up after this panel. I'll be going straight to my table. The Holy Grail, yes. Indiana Seagull. That's brilliant. Oh, thank you for bringing that along anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Nick, if you don't want to kill the audience's ears again.
Let's see some hands. Anyone have any questions? Let's grab this gentleman right here.
Gentleman right here.
Was wondering, would you have any interest in being a doctor on Doctor Who?
Yeah, well, I think any actor, yes. But I did meet Peter Capaldi last year in Cardiff, and they said, oh, Peter wants to meet you, and you think, yes. This often happens, oh, you're dying to meet, and you never see them. He was on his own that day in the studio, and he said, oh, Frazer, don't go away. I want a picture on my camera for you. And then he did a scene on his own, and we was there, the line producer, all the cast and the crew. And at the end of the scene, he went, right, everybody, if it wasn't for that guy there, he pointed to me, him and his doctor, we wouldn't be here working today. And they all gave me a round of applause. Now, there's a lot of actors, if they take over a long-running show, they often go, this is how we do it now. Back to the old days, we now do it like this. This is the way Doctor Who or whatever should be made. But Peter, you know, he was a great fan as well. I had a little white robot made by a pal of mine, Billy Davis. You know, that's a white robot. You got a white robot. And so he's a great fan, so he knew. But of course, you know, any actor given a chance would be a doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd love to.
All right. Next.
Yeah. What are you going to see first?
You don't want to risk it. I was going to ask you, we talked last night. You said you wrote your own book. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it was called Hindsight, and I tried to write it in longhand, and I hate my writing, I really do. So what I did is I talked into a little... First of all, chapter 1 would be on this early day, chapter 2 there, chapter 3, chapter 4, maybe Doctor Who, chapter 5. Then I wrote the stories in. Then I wake up in the morning, I'm going to talk about chapter 5 today, and I just, little tape recorder, and I talk into that. Then I send it to this girl, and she'd type it up, and come back, and I'd sort of, any spelling mistakes. And it's called Hindsight, and it came out in hardback, which sold out, and now I've got one copy left, actually. I've only got one left, because the others were supposed to have arrived at the hotel, and they haven't arrived there. And it's endorsed on the front by Michael Caine. So I rang him up because I used to go out with his daughter years ago. So, we were doing a movie called The Last Valley, set in Austria. And so him and I, we met there. In fact, I must tell you the story. Where's Minnie? But she's gone. She's asleep. Well, don't wake her. We were staying at this hotel in Austria called the Princess Maria Theresa Hotel, named after Princess Maria Theresa of Austria, who was a very strange woman. She was a princess, but her front, shall we say, she was born with it on her back. And rumour has it she wasn't very attractive, but she was fun to dance with. That's what we were told. That's what we were told.
All right, next question.
How do you feel about how the show's progressed?
Oh, sorry.
How do you feel about the way the show's progressed?
Oh, I love it. I think Capaldi is great as the Doctor. He has that kind of twinkle in his eye that he could have humour. And he's a brilliant actor and a great guitarist as well. A great guitarist. Do you like it? Do you like Capaldi as the Doctor?
Yes, sir.
You do, yeah. Is he your favourite so far?
No, I like Matt Smith.
You like Matt Smith, yeah? Well, Matt, again, said that his favourite Doctor was Patrick Troughton.
Right, and I've heard the story that he watched, they sent him to the Cybermen.
That's right.
As homework, and he came back from watching that and went, I want the bow tie.
Yeah, and he did. Matt Smith had a lot of hand movements, like Patrick. In fact, when I do Patrick in Big Finish, I have my script on the lectern, and I have to do the hand movement. I can't do Patrick Troughton with my hands in my pockets. I have to, yes, Caleb, you go that way, yes. Now what we did, you go here, and I have to do all the hand movements as well. And I mark my script blue when he's speaking, blue for the TARDIS, and when Janie's speaking, red for the kilt. And my script will go blue, red, blue, red, 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 blue, and I just do it all in one take.
I was going to ask that. So when you're in the studio, you just swap back and forth between Patrick one line, Janie the next.
Yeah, yes, because you get the right flow, and you can interrupt. Whereas if you do all Janie's like, no, Doctor, don't. You can't do it. Lords of the Red Planet, that's a Big Finish one. I'm always trying to get in Patrick-isms or Janie-isms, and Lisa Bowerman always said, no, it's not in the script. It's not in the script, you know. No, Lisa, but Patrick would say this. Janie would say no. And we were doing the Lords of the Red Planet, and I came to this scene. I went, Lisa, John Dorney, the author, he's in the room, the recording booth. Yes. I said, you cannot cut this next line. She said, what is it? She said, Janie and the Doctor are looking at the Martian rocket. The Doctor says, yes, Jamie, it is a big one, isn't it? Yes, I said, you can't cut it. That's in the Lords of the Red Planet. Good old John Dorney.
Which is a fantastic story.
It's a great story, and Michael Troughton's in it.
Yes.
And I had a scene with Michael, and I thought, oh my God, it's just the two of us. And it's me, I'm doing an impersonation of his father. It's like me doing an impersonation of you here now. And you go, I don't sound like that. I thought, oh my God. So I did the scene, and they said, how are you happy? And Michael said, Frazer, can I say one thing? Oh, well, here it comes. He said, you said a couple of lines then, and it was my father. And he said, the hairs on the back of my neck just tingled because that was so my dad. So, you know, and a great compliment, because actors are known for, we don't compliment each other at all. When we're doing the Enemy of the World, the first day of rehearsals, Patrick came up to Debbie Watling, myself. He said, listen, how you think of this voice? He said, for Salamanda. He said, okay, yeah? And Debbie went, are you really going to play like that? I said, Patrick, he doesn't come from Pakistan. And he slunk away. He could be hurt at times. But yeah, no, terrible pranksters.
Lords of the Red Planet available at bigfinish.com. So,
Yeah.
well worth